how you're viewing us, to my left there. I'm very proud and happy to be co-hosting with Tim today. This is Chip Reichenthal. We're broadcasting here on the 4th, so Independence Day in the United States, and we're kind of taking it easy for a while. And resting up for the fireworks, but the real fireworks are right here, right now. And that's why I get the honor of introducing today's very special guest. And we'll get straight to him. This is our good friend, Fra McDonald, from Northern Ireland, Belfast area. And he's been in the business, in the paranormal, for a long time. Famous as well, especially in his part of the world, but ours too. We should know better. And if you don't, shame on you, okay? Fa here has been with his team, Shadow Hunters NI. NI stands for Northern Ireland, and he's been deep into the heart of investigations for a long, long time, more than almost 2 decades, if not more, that we're aware of personally, probably more. So he's got a lot to tell us, and we've got a lot to learn today. Never too late to learn. So we're really honored to welcome you to Supernatural Realm Radio and our special reunion with our favorite man in the world, Mr. Tim Roxbury.
Great to have you here, Chip. I'm really excited for tonight's show, and with our good friend Fra McDonald from Northern Ireland. It's been a long time, Fra, and it's great to have you here tonight.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. It is. It's good to see you guys back. It's 10 years now since you and I was on a show together. Yeah, so it is. It's so good to see you back in the reins and back at it.
Yeah, it's I've been through quite a bit medically, and it's good to be back. So.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Yep, it's just proof as you look at your screen and listen to the audio that good things are worth the wait. Even if the wait is a lot longer than we all wanted. So it's a beautiful thing. So we're all celebrating. We're celebrating independence here, both country-wise and personally, and also the fact that the boys are back in town. We've got a very special guest to set it off, and a lot to learn, and some very exciting stuff to go through. God bless the world. Hey, Demi?
How did you get started in the paranormal? What led you to investigations, doing investigations?
Geez, that you're having me think a while back. I started back in the paranormal probably about 14 years ago now, I would say. To be honest with you, Tim, completely by mistake. I was nothing that I ever really intended on getting into. I was like every other, youngster watching TV shows, admiring the locations and the investigations and having the odd jump here or there. But it was by complete mistake. Yeah, Facebook had only really started up with like the online radio shows and like private messenger. And I followed one radio show back then, which was an American radio show. And I followed one team in Northern Ireland. And the radio show randomly messaged me one night and asked me to, come on and talk about the paranormal. So obviously I kindly explained that I wasn't part of a team and that I would see if I could, contact the team that I followed and see if they wanted to go on. So yeah, put them on that radio show, and to say thanks, that team asked me out the following week to investigate. Spent a few years there, then left and founded Shadow Hunters, which is 10 years old, 21st of this month.
Wow.
So never intended on being in the paranormal. It just sort of, as Chip would say, it was the universe's will.
Yeah, people don't find ghosts, ghosts choose them. So congratulations, welcome to the club. a little late, but still, it's great to have you. Um, I just need to know. It, once you started getting really involved at the behest of the radio or the team that invited you to get involved, um, what's the first thing you came across that moved you, that made you say, "Oh"? And was it right away, or did it take a while for that aha moment to hit you?
You know, I always felt like I knew there was more to life after death. To be fair, I always knew there was more whenever we pass over. Um, but yeah, that first night that it was out, when I was invited, heard some knocks, some bumps, few things. Put it down to the old building, sort of settling at night time, maybe bits and pieces falling off walls or ceiling, stuff like that. But it wasn't until I walked to the top of one of the sets of stairs and seen a figure move from
Oh,
the hallway into a room,
oh,
following it in and it not being there anymore, that I kind of sat back and kind of thought, okay, maybe we'll pay a little more attention here,
yeah, yeah. Something about the stairs in those places, they're always crappy too. I mean, you could get your feet infected by the splinters coming out of those things, or
Oh,
bats
they're not.
hitting you or something. So that stairs were creepy enough. The thing that you saw, could you just was it dark or just out of the corner of your eye? Could you describe that micro moment, if you would?
It wasn't even so much that it wasn't full, like, eye contact. It wasn't, from the peripheral vision. It was sort of in between the two, so I could see enough of it move, and I was able to follow it as it moved. Then,
Mm-hmm.
but I suppose it was more of a grey scale sort of shimmer,
Ooh,
but you can see enough of the shape to know that it was someone. You know,
yeah, yeah.
it was
Love
clear
that
enough.
description too. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
What are some of the most defining pictures that you have captured over the years, as far as apparition?
Oh, I suppose the best one that I got, unfortunately, I no longer have because the laptop that it was on
Mm.
completely died on me, and I wasn't able to retrieve it. Where I had a full shadow figure, and it was that defined. You could see the shape, and it turned. It was standing up at the end of a corridor, and it turned to the right, and you could see sort of the shape of the suit as much as it was shadow because it was that defined. And it turned to the right and sort of hunched down a bit. And as it stood up, it turned to face on again, and it just completely changed. And you could see like this tight shirt with this long, loose, flowing, puffy skirt,
Wow.
and you could see the definition between the head and the neck. And as this figure turned directly in the direction we were pointing the camera, the head sort of tilted. And the relevancy to that was that where it actually appeared
Oh,
was outside a cell where people were actually executed and hung.
Oh wow!
oh. So the skirt does it imply Scottish or female?
Female, it was quite relevant till the period of time.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow. And what period of time would that be? Just out of curiosity,
Late
I love this
eighteen
stuff.
hundreds, early 1900s.
See, that's what we keep forgetting here in the states, that there's actual history. Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes for
preaching
a
to the
lot
choir.
longer. Yeah. I mean, we're newbies. 260 years or whatever. I
Oh, is
mean,
that all?
yeah, that's it, man.
You haven't even broke the engine on it at that point.
It's like when California started making wine to the French. That's it's that kind of thing.
I'm
Uh,
pretty sure that we have a whiskey distillery somewhere in Ireland older than 200 years old.
yeah, I believe that. Oh man, that's a beautiful thing. And one of those, you mention it, and boy, it's like we just sure love to have some right now. um, but yeah, I think we've all had laptops like that or equipment like that, and I mean that hurts on a palpable, tangible level.
Massively,
That's
massively.
painful. Yeah, we had this. It was kind of time released. We had cameras going on overnight on this place, so after we left, we could check and see what kind of activity was going on.
Mm.
And it's kind of a dull job, to just keep going fast forward, fast forward.
Yeah.
But it was at spirit hour too. It was around 10 after 3 in the morning, and this mist just came out of nowhere. It just it started from like a point, and it just became this big cloud,
Mm.
and it was dark. It was like dark gray, approaching black, and it kind of sat there for a while, and then it just disappeared faster than it formed, and we're jumping up and down. Yeah, I can't believe we got that.
Yep.
And
There.
predictably, yeah, we lost that. We lost the memory thing that it was on. That's
Oh, the memory card.
the memory card, and boy, that's painful. And it wasn't a misplaced thing. It just we put it in like a couple of years down the road, and the thing was corrupted. Maybe we had it stored wrong or something, or somebody stepped on it, or maybe that mist itself came back and said, "I don't want to be on camera." Yeah, I
You
mean,
never know. That's there's certainly a possibility.
right, right. And the tough thing was, we couldn't really trace a history on that. Um, this was a kind of place of course, considering the history here overall is a lot less. Um,
Mm.
this was a building where, recognized history of that building in that area was shorter than, the history of the country. And so, but they were different kinds of things over different periods of time, generations and difference, not um, millennium or decades, but it was a generational thing, and so it became very difficult to trace. We thought maybe it was a kind of a community consciousness type of thing,
Mm.
because there were a lot of I didn't want to attribute negative things to the spirits that we had contact with.
Yeah.
They weren't aggressive, kind of benign, really, and some were actually kind of friendly and engaging. Um, so we couldn't really attribute evil to them, but sadness or their energy. Um, it None of them were happy, So it
Yeah.
was kind of a collective thing of sadness or apathy or um, not really anger per se, more um, just despondent, but that
Mm.
feeling was still there, and maybe that was it. Um, I don't know what would you think or suppose a mist like that might be.
Um. To me, it's a sign of pre-manifestation. To be honest with you, Chip. From any research that we have done or we have had, or through the years, um, we have normally came across a mist as being spirit, that energy trying to build enough to actually manifest. So
Hmm.
we attribute mists here to be stage before full manifestation, so pre-manifestation essentially.
Hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense, and especially the if you go by the history of what I imagine, the the spirits you may have come in contact with where you might have seen a mist.
Mm,
A lot of bad stuff happening over this, centuries. Um,
yeah.
but when you mention it, there have been some areas where uh, I'm remiss to address things as evil. I want to wait and see and
Yeah.
go by you know our instincts and how we've been treated, or if anything, remarkable happens with activity and things like that. Generally, if it weighs more than a pound, the madder it is. The heavier it is, the madder it's like maybe it picked up dark matter or gravity or something, and that's
Mm,
why people say, this thing sat on my chest and I couldn't breathe, or things like that. But sometimes um, we noted that the spirits, if we were lucky enough to ask and engage, they were fairly benign and sad, and but sometimes, or they didn't know they were dead. Even that was pretty common. But there is a force that's holding them, in this kind of purgatory, and
mm,
keeps them from the light, if you will. And sometimes the spirits don't know it, especially if they don't know that they're dead, and that's
yeah.
why they're still manifesting. But how come nobody can see me? How come? What's going on here? It's kind of that mystery. But time is way different to that consciousness.
Ra.
Yeah.
Um, what has been your experience with? Do you get more residual energy, or do you get more intelligent entities coming through on EVP?
To be honest with you, Tim, with the locations that we would investigate, the places we've been, majority of our EVPs are subconscious energies actually communicating with us. Um, Residual, that is actually the smaller percentage, to be honest with you, that we have found so far. You do
Mm-hmm.
get them, of course. Residual energy is there. But in terms of like solid EVP evidence, it's majority of it has been, fully conscious energy that's communicating with us, you know, that are giving accurate responses to the questions that are being asked.
Mm.
Yeah, when they answer in real time, and the time and space difference is so vast. I mean, that's an awesome thing, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and
If you look at it from even from the point of biocentrism, which is obviously the study from Professor Robert Lanza from the physics department in Brazil. Biocentrism is the whole study of a subconscious energy.
mhm,
And the way I always describe it to people, whenever you're talking about subconscious energy, it's essentially like when you die, the car body has stopped working, but the engine's still running.
mhm.
And essentially, with the theory of biocentrism, that's essentially what we're dealing with. We're dealing with that subconscious energy that remains behind. So we're still dealing with the engine that runs the entire car. So
Mhm.
when you do your EVPs, because that's the type of energy that we're in and among and we're interacting with, then the EVPs that we're getting back, they're coming back from spirit that is consciously interacting with us.
Wow. See, it's great that you brought that up, because there's been a lot of times in investigations we've done where it seems this is a residual energy, where it's the act itself, a murder or suicide, that is the thing that is responding. But it makes more sense that it would be the subconscious of that energy. And hypnotherapists, so we study
Yeah,
the subconscious, and it's like this supercomputer,
yeah,
that keeps a record of every thing that I will say six senses have ever
yeah,
done, have ever experienced throughout the course of a life. Uh, you know, uh, um, and so the question it answers are logical, not emotional. Um, and in some of the cases where we attributed um, not biocentrism, but the act itself, it
Yeah.
would seem to make as much, if not more, sense that it would fit into that category. But
Mhm.
the history in Northern Ireland is so vastly different, and there's so many events over time, and millennia that have occurred. The only time we get to enjoy it on TV, because here in the States we only think about the States. We don't really look out outward. you know, uh, you guys seem to know a little everything about every place, but not us. We've got 50 states. That's enough. And so we're kind of, speaking of centrism, that's kind of where we are. But yeah, the only time we get to really see it outside of like a ghost hunter's island or something is if it's one of the most haunted places ever or something, and they're usually castles or something that fits in the caste system, the European nobility and stuff, because a
Yeah.
lot of times when things happen to them, they don't expect it, because they've lived a whole life where they've been up here and practically untouchable. So when they
Yeah.
get touched, you know, they're like, "What did I do to deserve this?" And that kind of stays with that energy, and is amplified a little bit, exponentially sometimes, depending. You know,
Yeah.
have you ever tried like castles and places like that, where the history is like really, really extra nasty?
Yeah, I mean, we've done so many locations over the years. We've done everything from investigating a castle to investigating a jail, bar. There's a vast amount. Yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the main places that we would have had a hell of a lot of activity and a lot of experience in would have been one of the jails here in Northern Ireland.
Oh,
That's
sure.
no longer in use. The activity in that place was, it was crazy. You had everything from residual energy, residual haunts to, spurs interacting from, right back 18 sort of 60s right through right up
Hmm.
until, sort of 1970s, 1980s, that sort of thing. So you had a vast majority of traffic human ways over those years come through its doors. So, you had quite a lot of different, for want of better words, personalities within spirit
Hmm. Hmm.
to deal with and interact with.
Yeah.
So I suppose that location for me would have been one of those particular areas.
Yeah, it almost hurts, to walk around in places like that. We'd go to sometimes these asylums, uh,
Mm,
or places that were set up in the old road to hell is paved with good intentions type of places that were
yeah,
open to treat epilepsy because nobody knew what it was or if it was contagious,
yeah,
and then once they set it up, uh, surrounding states, said, "Oh man, can you can use some of our people, please? Take them."
yeah,
And then it kind of fed any of the unwanted type of the NIMBY factor. Not in my backyard,
yeah,
the criminally insane, and um, just any kind of unwanted thing. And by the time this place opened, when it was meant to be somewhere really special and a relief to its community,
yeah.
they were already overstocked and understaffed, and it was just a problem waiting to happen. And
That's something that has occurred here, over the hundreds of years.
mhm,
Everything from jails right through to workhouses, different stuff like that. I mean, like conditions and the amount of people that were even based in one room. You know, you'd have had a 10 by 10 room, and then maybe had 8 people in it. That was the sort of thing. I mean, even the poor houses here, back 1800s, even
mhm,
into the early 1900s, and around the famine time, poor people would have went to those houses with, children. The men would have
mhm,
been segregated from the women, but then the
mhm.
children would have been taken off them, and if they were there long enough, their children would have been ended up sold on to wealthy families to be used as servants, people, cheap labor basically to work in the home for the
Yeah.
wealthy. So it's some of the locations, the energy is, you feel that sense of despair.
Yeah, it's almost hard to imagine until you're in it, you know.
From
And even your imagination, sorry, Timmy, is dwarfed by the reality of it, just by
Yeah,
how those places feel. Go
what's
ahead, brother.
it's
what's your
crazy.
what's your methodology? What sort of approach do you take when you go into on a location or start an investigation?
Hmm.
Well, to be fair, like over the years, obviously, as you know, back then, Tim, whenever I first, started Shadow Hunters, we were scientifically based. As with anything in life, evolution takes over. So Shadow Hunters would take a mix of the science and the spirituality side of things. So realistically, going into an investigation, you gotta do your basics. You gotta get your baselines. You gotta find out what the natural levels of your EMF is within the immediate area, in the building, in the room, wherever. You gotta check for your cold spots. You gotta see if neighbors next door, if there's you know vocalization coming from somebody talking in the living room, things like that. Um, so you gotta do your baselines, the science. But at the same time, you got to take into the equation when you walk into that room your senses, what you're picking up on, how does the room feel, what is the atmosphere like, that sort of thing. And then obviously you got to have your history side of things as well. You got to do your research, so you got to find out the background of, what type of location was it, anything significant go on in it, any tragedies, any celebrations, because it's not all negative. You have the
Very good.
positive elements as well.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time, like the spirits that we're interacting with, the energies that are there, they are positive. Don't get
Hmm.
me wrong, yes, we do come across our negatives, but most of them are positive. So you got to do your groundwork, and when you go on the location, it's not just a case of pulling a GVP recorder right away and going to town asking questions. You got to to build the platform. You got to have your baselines, your natural readings of what's going on within that area first and foremost. Like I
Hmm.
say, everything from your EMF levels to you know how much light is naturally coming into the room. You know, hot and cold spots. Everything, you got to take it all into consideration.
Oh,
Do you
sure.
do you prefer static cams or do you use like live stream cameras?
Both. We mainly use static, and we go handheld with our cameras, but we do live stream from time to time. It was only about 2 months ago we were in a ridiculously old, rather large house further on up the coast, and we had four live stream cameras going at once, in
Wow.
different areas within the home. So we went live over Facebook, we went live over TikTok, we went live on YouTube, which just meant that people at home that follow us, they were able to keep an eye on the cameras, through the live feeds while we were investigating. And anytime anybody was picking up on something, they were bringing it through, in the messaging section. So I had a couple of the team, including myself, where we had done sort of different stints of sitting in front of the computer with the monitors and checking up on what people were reporting they were seeing and replying back to them, stuff like that. Um, it was good for us because we also obviously then record onto the DVR system, which
Hmm.
means that we can also go back and then obviously review the footage as well.
Sure. Do you think that because you're talking about getting a base level so you can see what the anomalies would be down the road, and since you mentioned that your base was static cameras,
Yeah.
when you use live stream, was there any notable differences in everything, energy or results, or because now you're broadcasting them to the world potentially,
Yeah.
and they seem to know that somehow because they're light energy too.
Yeah.
Do you see any notable difference?
I feel that when you live stream, Chip, um, well, one is a good thing because you've got more sets of eyes on the areas that you're investigating.
Mm.
That can help you whenever
Oh,
there's something going on within the area.
right.
But I do feel like you are right. I feel like when you go live, there is times where they know and they will avoid you like the plague.
Oh,
Simply because they do not want to be seen. It's literally that simple. Um, so I do believe there is a percentage of times where when you stream, you can potentially go. Well, you can hinder your investigation. But then
wow.
again, it's like I always say to people, when it comes to the paranormal world, when it comes with these energies we're interacting with, they're not performing monkeys. They were human like us. They were
Right.
in physical form like us at one point. So all we can do is go into the area respectfully and request that there's interaction. Whether you get the interaction or not, that's not up to us. That's up to them.
Right. And thank you for the reminder too that they're not circus animals.
Definitely.
Just seen that a lot with the various teams over the years. It's kind of a learning step. But yeah, I was almost surprised. I was thinking maybe that would increase some of the negatives, but to increase the hiding factor, the not being seen or uh, not coming out in the open. Um, it's like oh yeah, yeah, that could happen. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, we find it's the same. Even when we do private cases within businesses or homes, it's the exact same. I could have a call and somebody asking us to come and check out the house. They're getting activity. They can give me the reports, and the reports that you're writing down, that it could sound like something from the Amityville horror, but yet the day and hour that you go out to that person's location,
mhm.
quiet as a mouse.
Yeah, yeah,
There's nothing. The house feels fine. What you've been described on the phone just seems like a completely different. You kind of think to yourself, like on the wrong address here, but you haven't. It's sometimes they just know that we're coming before we do,
yeah, yeah.
and that gives them time to get offside. Of
Hey,
course, obviously, you have techniques to try and draw them forward and things like that. But again, they're not performing monkeys.
I
Yeah.
had a lot of clients tell me when we go to a home to do an interview, they used to say, "I just want to know I'm not crazy. I want to know that there's actually something going on here."
Yeah, 100%. People, when we do private cases like yourself, Tim, people just they want validation that what they're experiencing is real, and I think that in itself gives a level of comfort before you then have to go to the next stage of okay, then how do we get rid of
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, yeah. That's not always the same answer either.
No, no,
Yeah.
that's quite difficult. I mean, obviously, like I said, shadow hunters has evolved over the years, so we implement the spirituality with the science
Mm.
these days. So, we do cleanse homes when required or if requested. Um, that again also isn't an easy task. That can be quite difficult at times too.
Yeah. I can imagine, but it's bringing a relief to people that makes it worth all the effort. Plus you get some research. On top of it, but
A hundred percent.
giving providing peace to people in a way that for the most part isn't a common thing. So it feels even better to the professionals that are doing it. I mean
Yeah,
that has to be very affirming to you.
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when it comes to private cases, again, whether it's within the home or within the business, it doesn't matter. The one question that we always get asked is, well, how much do you charge? And it's funny because I was actually having a conversation with a few team members earlier on about this because I did actually get a phone call this evening about another private case. And that was the question that the person on the phone asked me, how much do you charge? And they're very taken back when they get the response of, well, we don't charge anything. You know,
Thank you. Oh my
you
God, I'm taken back too.
normally
Thank
get that
you.
response of, sorry, come again. And it's like, yeah, we don't charge anything. You know, at the end of the day, doing what we do, it's about
The science.
helping. It's about helping people, and at the end of the day, in helping people, it helps further the research. But the heart of all of the efforts that you put in terms of a private case, it's about giving the people a result.
Hmm.
It's about letting them take their home back, letting them, you know, take their lives back, their structure back, their routine back. It's about giving them that peace of mind, you know, and that's where you get your fulfillment from. You know,
Yeah.
that's where the payment is. Whenever you can go away from a private case and you either touch base with that person, you know, a day or two later, or they phone you a day or two later, and it's like talking to a completely different person on the phone because they're more positive within themselves.
Hmm.
They feel better. They've had a fantastic night's sleep. They feel like their home again.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, and to shadow hunters, that
Yeah.
in itself is enough.
It's a piece that for the most part can't be found. I mean, it's one thing to think that you're going crazy because there's all sorts of look when you see stuff move around a room on its own, it changes you, from
Yeah.
the inside out. But I have to go back to again. Thank you. I mean, Tim, all the shows that we've done over the years. Back when we started, I mean, I'm a lot older than my brother here, but he's still been around a long time. That was the premise that you started with. It was about the research. It wasn't about ego or showing off or charging.
Uh-huh.
And it seems that point has been long forgotten or just never brought up. You know,
I think the three of us, him alone, not to mention everybody else around the world, have seen their fair share of paranormal egos. And you know,
More
I
than
don't
that,
know about
Frederick.
you guys, but you know, over here, those egos are starting to dwindle,
Are
which
they?
is
Huh?
fantastic because there it was so many people over the years. As you know, me and Tim, you know, we have kept in touch and stuff, and we have had those conversations, Tim, as you know, about egos and stuff. You know, they just they're not wanted and not needed within the paranormal field, especially when you're doing what we do. You know, we're all in this for the same reason. Strip it back. You know, what do we all want? We all want to know what happens after we die.
Yeah.
Usually those
And you know, if every team bunched in together and worked together in that research, we would be so far more advanced towards the
Yeah.
answers. Where
Yeah.
you have those many egos over the years clashing with each other, trying to outdo each other, trying to put each other, you know, out of the industry altogether. Where rather than being so far forward, we're kind of like 10 steps back.
backwards.
Yeah. And away goes paranormal unity down the drain, as they say.
Yeah. But
Seems
the
like
good
we
thing
take
about it now is the
forward.
egos are gone, so the research is starting to increase, and
Yeah.
the speed of the research is starting to improve as well, which is
Yep.
fantastic.
I didn't hear you there, Tim, with what you just said.
So usually we sometimes we take two steps forward, we take two steps back, and usually that those groups that have those egos don't usually last too long.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because those two steps back are. Yeah. It kind of crushes you a little from the inside. I mean,
Yeah.
because you're really getting to the point where it looks like you were really making progress, and you had the science to back it up and everything. And all of a sudden, it's like you've got more questions than answers, especially if you've got a client that's waiting to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's emasculating. It just kind of diminishes you in that moment. And
No, definitely. I mean, the thing you guys would probably agree with me, you know, on this as well. You know, realistically, over here, you know, when you take this north and south of Ireland alone, you know, there are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of paranormal teams, and they're at different levels from just starting out on their journey to, you know, being going for many years. And the way I always look at this is there's always room within the paranormal field for everyone. as long as you're in it for the right reasons, and as long as you leave your ego at the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, your journey is going to be short lived because, again, reverting back to Chip's terminology, the universe has a way of removing what it doesn't need.
It does. Yeah. Not always as timely as it should.
Well,
Not always.
Yeah, but it's good to see that there's progress on your side of the pond, as we say, and that's always a beautiful thing. Yeah, I mean that's why Tim, it was kind of the basis and what started him originally doing the supernatural realm radio, and it's gotten
yeah,
to a point where that was the premise, and and we've done a lot of shows together, and it doesn't come up that often, so it's really refreshing that it's coming up now, and we can readdress it because there may be a lot of people very interested in the field and listening that might not have known that because you're not going to see it on one of the current television shows. It's more apt to the same kind of newsworthy bleeds it leads type of thing, and
yeah.
they're gonna or they're creating brand new fears, things that you should be terrified of that you didn't know you should be terrified of, because there's not enough of those. There's never enough of those, and you know, uh, yeah, peace and love don't sell cereal or insurance
Wait,
in that field. Yeah, we learned that the hard way. Uh, but it's a beautiful thing, and especially since we're having a major reunion here on Supernatural Realm Radio, and get to honor our brother Timmy and that we're swimming in this information that we haven't even thought to remind folks of. So we thank you for that, Frod. It's beautiful, uh, beautiful, Tammy.
yeah, I think Rod's going to be a staple on the supernatural realm.
Sounds good to me. It
Happy to be
works.
along. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's it's a beautiful thing.
I think we're going to go ahead and bring him on more often.
Sounds good, man. I say we
Yep.
go for it.
Honor.
It's all right. I don't know what the time difference is. Like 4 in the morning where you are, or
Oh no, it's just shy of 10 to 1 in the morning.
oh, okay, that's
Yeah,
not too bad. Yeah, that's,
over here sometimes we're investigating still at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, mate. So trust me, I'm still wide awake and not needing Red Bull just yet.
right.
Rod, have you got
Sometimes we're investigating whiskey at that hour too.
It has been known. It has been known.
Yep. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
I thought it was Red Bull, not
Well, that's me. Yeah.
Look,
Uh,
some of them are similar color. Don't worry about it.
no, I ended up getting this thing where if I have a sip of something, I get all red in the face, and then it starts throbbing. So.
Over here, we just tell you that that's the blood starting to circulate properly, mate. That's all that is.
Yeah, that's why I should go to Ireland more often. So
We
you
don't
guys,
have blood pressure problems over here because we've got a good circulatory system from the whiskey.
and it gives you better answers. I mean,
If anything, give me more hair on top of the head, mind you.
yeah, I still have yet to get there, but it's coming. It's coming fast.
The last time I was on the show with Tim, I think I actually had a full head of hair, if I remember correctly.
Wow,
I think so.
wow.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had you on.
I know
Just a
mine
bit.
was
Just a
fuller.
bit.
Oh, nice.
Holding on to it, you're fine.
Yeah, I like it personally. It gives you a character.
Oh,
You got less hair and less teeth over here. Less whiskey over there. So, you know,
Down way.
you got to take the good with the bad. What's that, brother?
What's the less Red Bull over there at your place?
Oh, yeah, I got to get more of that. That's a beautiful thing too. Yeah, it's just I'm getting old, so I.
The problem with that, I can't shut you up once you start drinking that.
I know, right? It's tough enough even without it. With the Chip. It's like Chip, shut up, man. but, uh, but it's still a
Right. Any
beautiful thing.
upcoming events you're going to be doing? I know you're going to be doing the railroad cars or whatever, that railroad museum.
Ooh,
Yeah, we that was actually last Saturday. We were at the
no
down
kidding.
the yeah, in Downpatrick. So, a fantastic place. It's steeped in the history with different carriages throughout the years from Northern Ireland Railway and different places like that. The work those guys, and they're all volunteers and stuff down there, and the work that they've done to restore the carriages and things like that is just, it's second to none. It's second to none. It's a good sized place as well. Big location. So yeah, we done the very first ever public paranormal event for that location actually
Hmm.
last Saturday. So we were the first team to ever do a paranormal event in it. We brought a lot of the public members in for the investigate with us. It was quite an active night. Everybody walked away with an experience, whether it was from, doing some old school techniques like scrying through mirror, or like, seance or spirit board, right through to, the newer techniques, using like the necrophonics,
Ooh,
like there's one particular sort of experiment that we've been talking about with that we sort of brought up ourselves was kind of what we call true darkness. So it's
ooh,
removing all sort of light and sight altogether, introducing white noise and sort of enhancing the other senses and seeing how people sort of, feather with that. The results were fantastic. The activity was fantastic.
wow.
Fantastic, brilliant, brilliant place overall. And in terms of history, if you're a history buff, definitely, if you're ever in that part of the world, go and check it out because it is steeped in so much of Northern Ireland Railways, history.
Hmm.
But our next event's coming up here is actually we're actually returning to the Belfast Barge. So the Belfast Barge is actually a boat
Wow.
that's not from Belfast,
Ooh,
which dates back to the 1960s. It was originally an old coal boat that came from the Netherlands, and it's
ooh,
now docked there. So they sort of converted it, and you would do like music events, they would hold weddings. There's a bar, there's a cafe, that sort of stuff. We done our first set of events a few months ago back there, and my God,
hmm,
normally whenever we do public events, we would structure them so to make sure that everybody gets to use all the experiments, all the equipment, and see as much of the location as they possibly can while they're doing it. So we'll sort of have like a flight plan. So if we have 40 public members coming, we'll separate them down into four groups of 10 because, well, one, audio contamination is a lot less when you've
Right.
got less numbers, but at the same time it allows us to filter them in throughout the different rooms and areas within the location so they see every part of the location and do different experiments in each room. The barge was that active at one point. Everybody had congregated into two rooms beside each other doing table work, and some of the equipment stuff was going off as well. And literally, a few of the team members were kind of looking, going, "Will we get everybody back on the routine?" And I was kind of like, "No, let it run, let it run." When you're getting good stuff like this, just let it run. So the structure kind of fell apart at that stage, and
hmm,
everybody in the team was kind of in among it with the public members investigating side by side with them. You know, a lot of people went away amazed at it. So we're returning back to the barge the 19th and the 20th, Friday 19th, Saturday the 20th of July,
wow.
for two more public events there. So we have with tickets up on sale on shadowhuntersni.com for that at the moment.
Oh,
So, if any of the guys over your direction are taking a trip this summer over to Northern Ireland, make
yeah.
sure to get on
Road
it.
trip, Timmy.
Yeah, get yourselves over here, boys. Enjoy.
Yeah, I have to. I got two questions that I have to ask you in regard to what you were talking about. I'll go with the more recent event first, the one that's coming up, and I think I'm getting. I saw a little piece of mist over out of the corner of my eye, and I seem to be getting some interference here. So, if you guys notice anything, you let me know. Um, the barge. When you bring water into an investigation, I mean, to me, that always seemed like a significant changing the energy. Who needs electricity when you have water for some reason, even though, one is kind of based on the other? So that's the first question is, do you think that once you get water in that things increase? Has that been your experience? And the second question is to the railroad. What is it about the railroad? And is it this specifically or a railroad generally that inspired you to investigate? Is there something similar, like once you get a railroad in or any kind of public travel or something, does that change the game? Does that, is there a specific reason why that inspired you? So water and railroads.
Well, with the barge, I mean, definitely, I'm a big believer. Flowing water, let's face it, scientifically been proven, flowing water creates a lot more energy. So if you've got a boat, whether that boat's traveling down a river or whether that boat is moored in the river, the water's still running no matter what.
Mm,
So that is going to increase natural levels of energy, around and in the vessel itself. So activity levels are always going to increase, um, based on the fact that there's more energy for what residents that are there in terms of spirit can sort of absorb and interact with. So yeah, 100%. I'm a firm believer. Anywhere closer to water, if it's having activity, it's going to be a lot more based on the fact that there's natural flowing water there, because that is just going to give it a real boost,
mm,
for to do what it wants to do, essentially.
yeah,
Um, in terms of the railway museum, what attracted me there, the museum itself it is a good sized museum. It has carriages from all different periods from all across the country. When you think of trains, you think of public transport, the amount of people that have came in and out of those carriage doors, that have travelled within the carriages along the railways. That in itself, the amount of energy that's going to be stored there due to that is going to be phenomenal. Even if you think of something as little as residual energy rather than subconscious energy,
mm,
you're going to have activity there. And for us, we found that the conscious energies that were there, the ones that could interact, you
right.
know, last Saturday night it was crazy. It was off the hook. There was so much activity. It surpassed our expectations. I put it that way, Chip. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, that one just went right past me. The museum thing, I was focused on railroad, and yeah, yeah, museums are wow, because you honor history there, and so it's almost like a welcoming,
yeah,
to the spirit side of the room,
mhm,
because they don't think that people are going to say, "Oh my God, you evil thing! We were yeah, you're terrible, and you shame on you, and all this stuff." Instead, it's more like, thank you for all the work that you've done, and we're actively honoring you, this
yeah,
many years later, and so there's a kind of almost a beauty there, the same kind of beauty that you feel when people that have no relief from their hauntings, if you will,
yeah,
finally have somebody that is honorable and trustworthy, and they thought that help would never find them, So
yeah.
it's kind of that same thing. And I don't know if you've noticed this or not. Maybe it's just me, and I need more Red Bull. Uh, but there's some stuff around Timmy. His background has been going nuts, and I don't know if you notice that too, or I'm just losing it a little bit.
Yeah, no. His background's a bit jittery there. Yeah, I think that is just the way these backgrounds work now. You move a certain way, as you can see there, and it sort
Yeah.
of IR sort of makes it play about a bit.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I love the science answer. It calms me a little bit now, because again, I got to go back to that wisp. We
Yeah.
could. So I'm expecting
Well,
something to happen,
a
and I
wisp
thought
off screen
maybe.
is different than a wisp on screen when it comes to the IR background. So if
Yeah.
you're
True.
seeing a wisp off screen there, Chief, it's definitely going to be something different.
Yeah. But it seemed to light Timmy up, and I thought, so I was putting that together where it wouldn't necessarily be. I think
That's pretty
it's
cool, though, huh?
a
That's
cousin
just
thing.
Oh,
that's
might
just
be.
Tim's aura just shining around him. That's all that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Um, I'm going to ask a scientific question, but I want to see if Timmy has a question he would is inspired to ask.
I think it's time for a break,
Okay.
and then I'll maybe ask my question after the break.
Okay. Yeah. Now that Chip's hallucinating, why don't we take a break? Potentially, you know.
You are listening to Supernatural Realm on the Vera Network. We'll be right back right after this. Don't go away. Thank you.
Don't forget to hit the donate button on the way out. That will help the Last Frequency stay on the air. Just go to lastfrequency.com and send some good frequencies our way. Or take advantage of one of our subscription levels designed to help fund what is free for all. The Last Frequency Radio.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think it's tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down. Around here we take of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one round up. It might fly in the sky. Good luck, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
These farmers are dropping their own crops for the day. A friend is in need, and they've come to help.
It's what this community and a lot of our communities stand for. Somebody needs some help, you'll get it.
Try that in a small town.
Stand by, Carolinas.
Carolina Radio, Columbia.
Excellent.
Do you want to chat during the show? Just in case you do, we have a solution for you. MeWe. The Last Frequency has a group chat on MeWe that you can access shows. Just go to lastfrequency.com, click on the upcoming guest page, and click on the MeWe chat pic on the left-hand side. That's all there is to it. The Last Frequency. We cover everything.
Good evening, my loyal listeners and dwellers of the night. Doing this show can work up quite the appetite. So, if you like what you're listening to here on this radio show, and this station for that matter, then how about buying me a dinner? Just go to the Buy Me Dinner tab at www.lastfrequency.com and send $1, $5, $10. It's up to you. And in return, I will continue to bring you the best guests with the best information every single show. And I'll tell you what else I'll do. If you have a favorite recipe, you send it to me, and I will put it up on the website. We're going to put up a recipe section for those who donate and want their name and the recipe up there. We'll do that for you. And we could share it with others. Everyone can enjoy their meal while they listen to The Last Frequency. So help us while we help you, and all of us help others. The Last Frequency. We cover everything.
Frequencies around the world. Listen up. The shop is here, and you can order TLF Radio Shred now and show your friends and neighbors you're awake by wearing one of our many shirts, including our Let's Go Brandon shirt. That one is a hot seller, so get yours while supplies last. We have coffee mugs, clocks, so never miss your favorite shows, books, mouse pads. Just go to thelastfrequency.com and click the shop link. That's thelastfrequency.com and get to shopping.
My name's Joe Biden. I keep forgetting I'm president.
Everybody loves a clown, so why don't you?
My name's Joe Biden.
Select geek, pretty freak, scum-sucking peahead with a lousy physique. He's a one-man, no-cut, losing streak. Nothing but a pencil neck geek.
I keep forgetting I'm president. My name's Joe Biden. I keep forgetting I'm president.
Everybody. Let's go, Brandon.
Hey.
Let's go, Brandon.
Hey.
Let's go,
Hey.
Brandon.
Hey, frequencies everywhere. Let the world know how you feel. Slide into a brand new Let's Go Brandon t-shirt. The crowds in stadiums around the country have expressed their mutual feelings about the current administration, and now you can make a statement by wearing one of our Let's Go Brandon t-shirts. Go to www.lastfrequency.com, click on the shop tab, and let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Timber! Timber! Level out, come on! Timber! 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 Level out, Timber! 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 Timber!
What was that? I don't know, man.
Timber!
Yeah, we're back. Yes, from McDonald. On. Where are we? Oh, for another hour left to go. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm losing you a little bit. But
Yeah, your audio went weird there, Tim.
yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There we go.
Better. Yep.
I'm not sure what happened with the audio.
I think he inherited that wisp.
Kind of weird.
I saw. See,
Yeah,
he's
well,
got.
you can keep it over here. Say another word.
Yeah. No, I think it's this thing we had back in the day. You know, he lost a cousin, and I had this dream. It was one of those lucid dreams, and I was in exactly where I was in my room in bed, and I get up and I go open the bedroom door to the hallway, and had a lot of lucid dreams like that. And this time it was this. It was a gentleman, looked nice, and he shook my hand and he thanked me. And a couple of days later, we were doing a supernatural realm, and he showed me a picture of his cousin, and it was the same guy, same shirt and pants, same outfit. It was one of those whoa kind of things,
Definitely.
and yeah, got the same kind of feeling to it. So I think again, yeah, I think that the wisp started here, and um, back to you.
It's kind of weird, huh?
Not really, he hadn't really had a chance to tell you anything. Uh, yeah, he's surrounding you with a healing kind of loving light, and says you could reach out to him anytime.
Your office is where your location is in your office. That's a haunted building too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're in an old linen mill. It backs into the mid 1800s. What a perfect place for an office for a paranormal team, eh?
Right. Oh, that's got to be
So,
beautiful.
yeah, no, it's great. Obviously we have our office here, so we everything, in terms of operations from day to day is all around from here. But at the same time, we're lucky enough where we have use of the entire building for to investigate and push the research further. And then when we're developing any new equipment or any new experiments and stuff, we can go out and we can test them within the building. And we're in the middle at the minute. We're actually sponsored by a paranormal equipment company called Infrared. They actually sponsor. It's a TV show in UK called Help My House is Haunted with a US star. Chris Fleming was in the first season of.
Chris Fleming, wow.
Yeah. So
No
we're
kidding.
sponsored by Infrared. So we're in the middle
Nice.
of getting new equipment actually sent over by Infrared for the test out even more in the location and try and sort of filter them into more experiments. So yeah, the mill itself is just it's fantastic, and the activity within the mill itself is it's phenomenal.
Wow. Pardon me for feeling a little jealous on that, I haven't been actively doing anything though, but it's so nice to see that. It's just there are certain things that we longed for, when we were uh, out in the rough, so to speak, and you've got all of it. So thank you. It's enlightening to see that. It really is, because all the things I remember that are coming back to me now, it was like a past life almost. Where all the things that we seem to long for. I mean, there wasn't really that much, but the paranormal unity and the businesses honoring your research and back around. It's just that kind of thing was something that we've always felt we shouldn't have had to long for. It just seemed like there were so many common minds on that, and yet it's just it was always the egos that were getting all the gigs, and
Yeah, no, 100%. And I 100% agree with you on that. It was always the egos. Thankfully, that's starting to change. Don't get me wrong. I mean, nearly 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and plenty of sleepless nights. But it's a very humbling and very enjoyable position for shadow hunters to be in these days. Everybody in the team has worked their socks off to get it to where it is today. So we're fortunate, but we're grateful.
yeah, and humility. It's a wonderful thing. and it seems that that if you really take the work seriously, that's where you end up, humble. Because there is a certain integrity that comes with trying to bridge, two different space times in the same three-dimensional arena. So that's a beautiful thing.
It's quite a challenge.
It is. Well, that inspires my scientific question, I guess. There's a segue here. Trust me. But a new little chapter in Supernatural Realm Radio. I like to call Chip watches too much television. Okay. So I'm going to hit you with this, but it's a scientific thing, more than the paranormal. We always had this bet going, and I won the bet, but the person I made the bet with, unfortunately, probably could be that wisp that I saw not long ago. May they rest in peace. But with that said, there is a thing that I saw, a couple of things. One was that one of these guys I really admire, not just in our industry, but also in ufology, all sorts of terms of contact, non-human intelligent contact is what they call it. Inspired originally by Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was an astronaut, sixth man in the U.S. to walk on the moon. For those who believe that. And when he was there and they were rotating around the moon, he was actually doing these ESP tests with the cards, with the squiggly lines and the square and he got way above chance, which in itself was remarkable, in a room of scientists and in a NASA-inspired situation where he's doing it with the Houston communications, at the NASA base, and it occurred to him in that moment, and as he's staring at the Earth, he can see the whole planet. He found himself so moved by that, that it's an entirely new perspective that so few people will ever know. That talk about humility. I mean, he really, really felt that small in the moment, and was moved by that. And at the same time, he got this aha moment that consciousness energy, according to him, is faster than light. Because as he's communicating with Houston, it takes about 30 seconds for the signal at light speed to reach, him to Houston, and then back from Houston to him, because, they're rotating around the moon, and the other one is earthbound. But he found that his answers and his instincts were much quicker. They were instantaneous, where the communication itself, which was occurring at light speed, was a lot slower. So he formed this holographic universe opinion. And it's not a multiverse type of thing, but he introduced consciousness as an energy form and insisted in quantum theory or in relative theory that it should be included, and it should be like a staple in cosmology, relativity, quantum sciences. That was his earnest hope, anyway. And there was an astrophysicist was affiliated with Harvard, and he had witnessed a UFO contact and some actual real-time communication with a spaceship, which he called the mothership. And that in itself is like really rare. You don't get many Harvard scientists or astronomers talking about that sort of thing. And it occurred to him, being inspired by the same man, Edgar Mitchell, that a black hole could be, or dark matter could be information uh, and consciousness as an energy form with some gravity and some electromagnetism. Einstein was working on a fifth dimension, and gravity and electromagnetism was included, but there was that other part that he never really concluded before his death. Uh, I guess my question is when they talk about gravitational waves and these explosions from two neuron stars or two black holes merging eventually comes across, I mean, it completely warps space and time both, and eventually they cross, those waves come across the earth, and so there's got to be some minor deviations in space and time, and nobody ever talks about that. So it's my curiosity that if you're sitting in a room and you have real time contact with somebody from 1890 with the firm belief that they're still in 1890 and you're the ghost, um, or the intruder, if you will, because you're on their property, so you have that twin disconnect between who's owning the territory in their time and space. Um, but do you think it's possible that having a real time communication with two different points of space and time could be that warping that these gravitational waves are doing that nobody ever really addresses, or that it could be consciousness as an energy form?
I think you could definitely, I don't think out of the two, I think the consciousness would be the less of the two realities. I do believe that it is possible where you could have that crossover. I don't think it's going to be like something that's going to happen all the time, but I do feel like it's something that definitely is a possibility. If you think of it in the sense of as paranormal investigators, we all know that the veil between our realm and the next thins coming up till around Halloween time. Then why wouldn't you believe in the possibility that when these streams and these waves come across the earth, that it could make a shift within time? Because at the end of the day, what is time? Time realistically is a man-made thing, but you have to take into the factor that it's all created by light as well. Without the existence of light,
Mhm.
we haven't got it. So therefore, could it be possible? Why
Mm.
couldn't it? Is more the question I would ask. Is why couldn't it be possible?
Yeah. It's well, they say that the people that are a little sharper with their intuition, as well, like actual psychic ability, telepathy or psychokinesis, or things like that, have a special vibration or frequency that's
Yeah.
in this higher realm, um, uh, and their temporal lobes light up in under electromagnetic, I don't know, whatever you call those things that are taking pictures of your neurons and your brain in real time while you're picking up signals like that. But they say the temporal lobe lights up. And it
Well,
just seems like it's advanced irradiation or charged particle type of things. And
yeah, but I mean, if you look at it from the aspect of, you know, ESP, there's been military factions throughout the world for years that have been trying to, develop these super soldiers that have that ESP. You look at, for example, like the use of Gansfield experiment. Gansfield experiment is all about, you know, giving people that ability to have the foresight that they wouldn't see without it. It's a
right.
shift within those lobes. It's a change within those lights. It's a movement within those vibrations that are changing them to open up, the mind further, or for proverbial words, the third eye. So, if you can use experiments like Gansfield for to bring on ESP for to develop temporarily, a type of, I suppose, the psychic ability, or the state of forcing. Why wouldn't you believe in the possibility that you could realistically get in contact with someone from the past when those waves come over the earth?
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, military factions have put, their time, their resources, and their financial money, into the backings of ESP development.
Yeah.
So if they're doing that, there's substance till that particular experiment and those tests.
Mhm.
So realistically, if there's substance to that, there's got to be substance till that specific topic that you're talking about.
Very, very true. And the military, the remote viewing, there's something that they may have seen personally or had personal knowledge of. And when you mention psychic ability, it's the one thing that they all seem to agree on. That remote viewing is actually a thing, and that ties together a lot of the extrasensory type of, it's psychokinetic, it's telepathic, it's a little bit of everything. And even though, some of the other things they still frown on a little bit, once you get to remote viewing, it's a very logically minded type of thing. So it brings both sides of the brain together, really, but in a more logical sense than an emotional one. And
100%. I mean, if you look at it from the aspect of, there's new developments now where there's loose theories, really loose theories that, even as far back as the ancient Egyptian era, they were playing around with sound and vibration for helping move heavy objects.
excellent point. Yes. Yes,
So
yeah.
when you disposition or change a vibration, whether it's to do with an object or whether it's to do with, the vibration of matter or light or whatever, or even the vibration within the human body or the mind, I can't see how these things can be possible.
No.
Rod, do you have anybody on your team that's sensitive to the paranormal or have abilities?
Yes, we do actually. We have a couple of people that are on the team that have different sort of sensibilities. One would be a medium. There's some that would sort of, obviously have the sense of the change of feelings, atmospherical differences, things like that. Some, can maybe hear things more than others, and some that are in full communication. So we do have team members there that are sensitive, as well as team members that are scientifically based. And I think that's probably, Tim, one of the aspects that has, sort of propelled Shadowhunters, and I with the evolution over the past 10 years, is the fact that we have got a mix of both spiritual and scientific minds within the team, and they're both working together and coexisting to sort of gain the bigger picture, and push the research further to get more answers. And it's definitely working because we're getting good results, and even that's even just on private cases, and our own research. When we take that to the public events and we bring the public into the locations, that mix of people within the team seem to it seems to benefit when it comes to activity within locations, for to sort of nurture it forward and help get more interaction, whether there's, the 15, 16 members of the team, or whether there's 16, 15, 16 members of the team and 40 public members.
Does
So
that help
I
you?
definitely.
Yeah,
What's
does that
that?
help you? Does that help you with placement of equipment, like your static cameras or your live stream cameras?
From time to time, yeah, 100%. You go into a location, you've done your basics like we had talked about earlier on. You've basically got your readings. You know what the natural levels are for, cold spots, hot spots, EMF, etc. If you have somebody that's sensitive that's maybe walked into that area with you while you're doing your readings, and they've got a good sense, that there's potential for activity within that location, we'll never dismiss it. At the end of the day, it's a static camera. We can set it up within that room and let it run for a few hours, see if we're getting anything coming through. You know, 9 times out of 10, we possibly will catch something, whether it's something small as an orb or, some sort of movement. But on occasions where you don't, well, you've given a couple of hours, you've got footage to review, you take that camera, you move it into another room, and you try again.
Yeah. And that's got to broaden the research overall, because it includes things that aren't in that standard model. you know,
Yeah.
and it's refreshing. Look, because it was always which would be discovered first, and would either happen in your lifetime, ghosts or UFOs, and we all have that answer now. So if the UFOs has become more of an answer to the extent that it's actually made the front page of newspapers that are considered, the actual newsworthy and have that authority behind them, then what are we not doing in the paranormal field? And back to the watching too much TV thing, is that a lot of the contact with extraterrestrial stuff that I've been watching has a lot to do with, well, first of all, telepathy, because if there is any communication from one language to another, considering there's, 267 languages on this planet, how would an extraterrestrial figure out a way, whether they're, Spanish or, a Viking, European. It just, and they're a very common answer. And a lot of the research is, it's like they send information that is similar to what you mentioned about sound. It's in wave form, and it's not in words. It's like a whole chapter's worth of information in one blurb. And eventually, when the person that is the contactee gets more and more familiar with this, they start to make out what that information is. But it comes in a much broader chunk, than the way we communicate, one word at a time. These are like volumes of information in symbols, so you can understand in the same way that if you're deadlocked with a wild animal, if that wild animal is thinking to eat you, or willing to walk the other way. So it's kind of like that. And they also talk about a lot more dimensions of things than we ever did in the paranormal, or that they are presently doing, even in string theory, that in quantum sciences. But they're getting there, and they're coming across a lot more information, and every year brings a lot more valuable stuff. But it takes time to reach the common man, or the common person, I should say.
I think the other thing as well is, when it comes to, the ufology side of things, I mean, like I would obviously, sort of delve into that sort of stuff from time to time too. I mean, a good friend of mine, Chris, he runs Northern Ireland UFO Society, so we would talk, relatively often, and like the ground has been covered within the UFO community is second to none. I think the difference between that and sort of our side of the paranormal is certainly the fact that, there's more government involvement whenever it comes to the UFO activity, because obviously it's taking up the airspace, and there's activity within the air that they have to keep an eye on. With our side of the paranormal, we're dealing with, things that most people can't see, and explain. So I think we probably get a lot less more coverage than the UFO community in that sense. But again, with the paranormal side of it, with our side of it, I think paranormal investigating, it's moving a lot more rapidly than what people realize, and it's developing a lot more rapidly. It's just that it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, because it gets lost behind the TV shows.
Yeah, it really does. And, it's just like radio shows. That's why, proud to be with my brother here, because, he started a show a long time ago that deals in these principles, and finds people that are real researchers, because he knows the difference, and he's got this thirst for knowledge, more of a hunger, really, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and salute to Timmy. I mean, he finds them. Case in point. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so I'm a little quiet tonight because I'm a little rusty on live streaming and with all the equipment and stuff. So that's why I'm a little quiet tonight. I'm still trying to get back in the swing of things.
Oh,
I've rose and fall off in no time, buddy.
yeah, it seems like you're doing good to me. I didn't really notice. Of course, that's me. The old Chip, just shut up and let the man talk.
I do want to give a shout out to Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They help a lot of veterans and a lot of first responders and their families, especially the ones that lost loved ones in the line of duty.
Mm.
They pay their mortgages off.
Wow.
They give them housing if they're disabled. They give them smart homes, and they actually sent me $500 for me to get a mobility scooter,
Oh, no kidding.
and they sent me a shirt as well.
Oh,
I want to give them
wow.
a big shout out.
Yeah,
They're
big shout out.
wonderful. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Tunnel to Towers. Now, is that local or is that
That's they're based
broad?
out, they're based out of New York State. They're based out of New York City. Their
Wow.
website's t2t.org. If anyone wants to donate $11 a month or just give a one-time donation, you can go to the website at t2t.org to donate.
T2T. Yeah. Wow. Say that fast 3 times.
t2t.org.
Yeah,
Actually, got a shirt from them that I bought. They sent me a hat and they sent me another shirt and
Oh, that's awesome, man.
$500 check.
Wow. That is so awesome.
Right.
Well, and it's refreshing. It's always refreshing that there are organizations like that are actually not tied down by, their advertising budget. They can
Their
actually.
CEO Frank Sealer actually lost a brother on 9/11/2001
No.
at the Twin Towers. He was a city North FDNY firefighter that passed away on 9/11/2001 in the Twin Towers, and that was his inspiration for starting the organization.
Well, God bless them. It makes a lot of sense. Over the years, talked to a lot of first responders from the city that were there, and so affected, but not just, emotionally. I mean, their health has suffered as a result, and it's a certain standard of people that runs into dangerous things. Um, Especially from the perspective of a guy who runs away from that tiniest little. Uh, he can't help but admire folks like that and talk about humility. And,
I just ordered a shirt from them recently. It's $42 with tax. If anyone
Wow.
wants to buy some of their merchandise, they got wonderful merchandise on their website.
T2T.org.
Yes, Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm glad that you had a chance to run into them, so to speak.
Yeah, I actually talked with Frank Siller himself. He actually called me on the phone.
Wow.
Asked me what I needed.
Oh.
So.
Oh. Wow, that's yeah, that got me a little bit.
Because I told him I was a former firefighter and I was active for 20 years, and he's like, "What do you need, Tim?" And I told him, and he sent me the check a couple of days later, $600.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Wow.
Actually, it was
Boy.
wasn't it, Mommy? Yeah, it was $500. Anyways.
Oh, that's what you had said a couple of times. So.
Yeah. So I got my scooter sitting in the shed out back, and I can cruise around in the neighborhood.
Oh, you got it. When did you get it? How long ago?
A couple weeks ago.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful. So you like it?
Yeah, it helps.
Can you drag race cars yet? In
Burlington hot brakes in the corner.
I haven't had on two wheels yet, but I've been close.
Okay. Getting a little extra motor in there for you.
It helps me.
Then we'll be at the back sticking exhaust pipes and everything on that.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, actually, it's very helpful because of my ostomy, my prolapse bowel that comes out. It helps me. helps me get around more.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. You know, it's it's kind of a soul crusher. You know, when you develop mobility issues. You know, especially if you had years and years and years without it being an issue. It's a shock to the system. It's a shock to the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and so it's a beautiful thing to see that that addressed in such a classically beautiful way.
Had I been able to talk when I went to the hospital when I was admitted, I wasn't able to talk because of my stroke I had a few days prior to that when I was transferred to Pittsburgh. Had I been able to talk, I would have told him I didn't want the stoma, but it's a necessary evil right now, I guess.
Jeez. Well, I feel you on that. And when I went for my surgery, I was able to talk, and they put me out. They couldn't shut me up. So I think they tried to give me a stroke, but it all came close. I didn't know you had one.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was the initial thing that I had. I had actually when I was at Butler Hospital for like 6 days until they had got a bed in Pittsburgh, and then during my 6 days at Butler, I had a stroke in my patients in my in the room where I was waiting, waiting for the transfer to Pittsburgh. I had a stroke while in the hospital.
Wow. Well, there's no sign of it, which is, another thank God type of thing.
I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to use my right arm and my hand again.
How long did it take?
How long did it take, Mom? A couple weeks? Probably a couple weeks to a month before I was able to walk again.
But that's a brain bridge type of thing. The right brain and left brain being able to communicate with one another to deep in the central nervous system, and it makes it a lot harder. With both sides of the brain learning to as something that you wouldn't even have to think about. It's one of those almost automatically ingrained type of movements.
Yeah, people take for granted, their ability to walk and move your arms and stuff. Because I had a heck of a time with focus and getting my hand to connect with my brain to get it to work. It was a lot of work to make that connection.
Yeah, that's a scary thing.
People don't realize because it takes a lot of effort in the patient's part to get that connection, be able to move your hand again.
Yeah,
and
yeah, and as hard as you try, it's just it doesn't. Nothing makes sense, and then the fact that nothing makes sense makes no sense. So that's 18 different dimensions of makes no sense here, and that's a deeply scary thing.
I actually had to have my therapist actually had to move my right leg to get it to keep up, and so it would move when I first started rehab.
So he must have been really helpful because
It was, yeah.
you sure look recovered. I mean, I would never have guessed. You can even smile evenly. I can't do that. I've had many ones, many strokes over the years. I'm all crooked, so these are recovering well.
Yeah, they said I had a couple minis and a pretty major, not a major stroke, but a pretty significant stroke, along with a couple mini strokes that I had.
Well, yeah, if it crosses that brain blood barrier,
Yeah. What's that, Mom?
it's a serious thing.
Yeah, I had that brain infection. Yeah. Oh, wow.
An infection on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, how did they find a brain infection? What triggered that kind of research?
I was low on red blood cells for a while.
Okay.
They had to give me blood transfusions while I was in the hospital.
Yeah, you get below a certain level, especially on their watch, and they can get sued, so they kind of have to. That happened to me once a long time ago. Uh, so I get it, and you don't feel it. You can't tell.
And I was on
You know,
medication for a while to
yeah,
increase.
yeah. I was falling asleep all the time. I was getting really tired. I was like really super drained of energy, and I had no idea why. And they found like a hole in my esophagus, and I, um, and right back to that point, where it was starting to get transfusion time, and there's all that fear about getting somebody else's blood, especially back at that time, it was a lot more active, that fear, and so I get that. Been there. See, I'm losing my voice. It's like manna from heaven, Timmy.
Bro,
Wow.
this has really been exciting. I'm really really happy to be able to talk to you again, and man, this almost 2 hours has really flown by. I mean,
Yeah, it really hasn't it? It's crazy after 10 years in the making. Any black hair, eh?
it's so
Yep.
good to see you again, brother.
Yeah,
You too, man. You too.
I feel
Good to
like
see
I've
you.
known you before, so this doesn't feel new. I mean,
Oh, it,
so
it feels like a good overdue catch up.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
you're not just across the pond. You're family, bro.
yep,
I appreciate that, mate.
yep.
That's a
I
two-way street.
I agree wholeheartedly. And this has always been the fastest 2 hours
on radio.
in radio or anywhere. Supernatural realm radio, fastest
It
2 hours in the world.
just proves that us three can talk, eh?
Yeah, yeah, and that's very true.
Yeah, my cardiologist says I'm a miracle. He said, yeah, a couple times over at least.
Wow. Yeah, I can't disagree with that, man. I can't disagree with that. And I'm glad you're getting the benefit of the miracles, and it's something that others can see as well. Um, because I've been in environments where miracles just don't come, and you wait and wait and wait, and then something bad goes into something else bad and something else bad, and because it was somebody else's luck, yeah,
Yeah. Well, there was no chance of Tim going anywhere. He was too destined for to reactivate the show. So
oh yeah, yeah, the universe again. I mean, uh, he's got to answer his calling. He's duty bound to it, and
exactly.
this is a real part of that, and he's bringing real beauty to our industries, our realms, and
Yep.
so it's a beautiful thing, and I'm honored to be a part of it, man. Feels good to be back home.
Bro, we got about 10 minutes. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about any upcoming events or anything that anything going on with you? I mean, you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier on, at this minute in time, the events, we're crazy busy with events and private cases and stuff. But, at this minute in time, we've got our two events for the Barge, 19th and 20th of July. They're up on the Shadowhunters.ni.com website. Tickets are there for anybody that's wanting to come along. And, for those sofa investigators that want to get out from behind the TV and see what the real paranormal world's all about, they can come along and check it out with us. It'll be good. We will be returning back to the Railway Museum in Downpatrick in August. I'm just waiting to confirm dates for that at the minute as well. And like I was saying earlier on, I mean, we're currently waiting on the equipment coming through from the sponsor Infraready. Andy, he's absolutely brilliant. He's working with us to get equipment, over to us as quick as possible for to start working with, and we'll try and base some new experiments around it and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy busy, and the paranormal world's only getting busier. This is the thing, and I'm sure the both of you will agree with me. COVID and lockdown was an absolute nightmare
Mm.
But what we have found over at this side of the world is that the acknowledgement of the paranormal and the acknowledgement of UFO activity and stuff that increased massively over lockdown.
Hmm.
It's became more mainstream than ever because people they were forced to slow down and either look up or
And get your signal frozen.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I lost it for a minute here.
Wow. But he had a point though, because we always wondered uh, what kind of how that would change it if it would those energies, the COVID, the lockdown and uh, all the living people that really had to amend the way they saw the world, the way they felt about their lives, and being powerless to change it. That they would uh, try to reach out and break the systems of that power down, and try as they might, uh, it still wouldn't chase that feeling away. uh, so yeah, so it's nice you know, there's a person with a lot of authority behind him in his research and everything, who's doing all the right things. He's ticking all the boxes, and that's I just it's beautiful to see that sort of thing. But he had his thumb on the pulse of that and that wonder of ours. Uh, so it's nice that at least he got to hear about that before he got frozen up there.
I'm not sure what happened with him. I hope he comes back for a few more minutes here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Um, well, we lost him once and he came back, so fingers crossed on that.
Yeah.
And while you're, you know, trying to figure that stuff out, I think we got him. Yeah, there he is.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, we owe you a bow. We're not because we were talking about the if the energies on the paranormal side of things were affected by all the living people going through lockdown and COVID and all the different. It affected everybody at a critical point of living, of life. Everything had to change, including the people that died from it, and you couldn't go to their services or funerals. You couldn't honor them. I mean, there's just a lot of frustrating stuff. And, we were kind of really worried because it seemed like it would really pump up the negative, especially when all the media events, they always covered the scary side of things. They're just, in that fear mongering mode, and then creating more fears, and just scaring the hell out of us. And
Yeah, definitely. I think at that aspect, though, I think as much as the news stations and stuff tried to do that, I think there was a lot of things that came out of it that they weren't planning for. There was a lot more positivity. I mean, for example,
yes,
people back
well,
to nature.
The real people in real life are better than that. That's what that is.
Exactly. I mean, over here in Ireland, as a whole, I mean, the amount of people that are, taking up yoga or, they're more into their natural remedies. They go for the walks in the forests, back to nature, back to basics. But the amount of people that do that now, the amount of people that pay more attention to their health and actively benefit in their health has been massive increase. Since pre-lockdown, shall we say? So I think as much as the news reports and stuff try to sort of put that fearmonger and stuff out, I think in certain aspects it's definitely failed in doing so because there's been a lot of positivity, I suppose, that's came out of that side of it. And again, like I've obviously with the paranormal stuff, people. There's a lot more people that are a lot more acceptant now of the existence of the afterlife and of spirit.
Yeah, very true.
And obviously for people like us, that's a good thing because all that does is help make it a bit easier for us to try and progress that research a bit further.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, and it seems that as much as we're exposed to all the flowing negatives from the news cycles and the 24-hour news cycles, especially, is the reminder that if you're out and about and you're talking to people, there is kindnesses everywhere. The good deeds. Reaching out to help your neighbors. I mean, that kind of grace and that kind of beauty is in full display, and yet you never really see anybody pay grand attention to that when they're too busy trying to scare the crap out of us. And there were the science shows would bring all these fascinating. I don't know, destructive things or whatever, and then find a new fear to address to people who had no reason to worry about stuff like that until they were just, trying to escape, and get some entertainment.
Yeah.
And then they, I was, uh, I was getting pissed. I'm sorry, I gotta say that.
Speaking of fear, Chip, I'm glad COVID's over, because that was hell. Being in the hospital when my mom and my sister were there when I was in the waiting room waiting to get heart surgery,
Yeah.
and I was only allowed to have one person with me, and I was in tears because it was either my mom or my sister had to leave my side, and the
Mm.
doctor said that they could both be in the room.
Good. I'm glad you had a doctor like that.
And they said, "Well, she doesn't make the rules." I said, "Well, she told me that I can have both people here."
Yeah.
And the security guards finally did let my mom and my sister both there. But
Well,
it was hell. I mean, it was hell going through that.
well, these are people that are trying to heal you in a place and an area that actual healing no longer exists. So they do the best that they can, and that's always been the case. I've spent my full focus on someone whose immune system was constantly compromised. It was a throat cancer, and all the things that they had to endure. You see the hospital staff make exceptions like that because it's the right thing to do. They have taken a Hippocratic oath and they're trying to honor it, and yet the only things they have to work with medicinally or chemically are generally poisonous. I don't understand how they're getting away with that stuff. I can't even watch commercials anymore that are about medicines because I'm screaming at the TV again. The side effects will give you things that are worse than anything you're taking these medicines for, even if it's really horrible things that you're taking the medicines for. Creatively worse.
I think that on that point, I think that's the reason why a lot of people have went back to nature until the natural remedies and stuff. Because I think you look at lockdown and essentially everybody was forced to take an injection of something that they hadn't got a clue what the hell people were putting into their bodies.
Yeah.
So I think those sort of fears and those sort of acts have definitely pushed people back towards the old ways of
And thank God for that.
take care of their own health a lot more and go for the natural remedies rather than trying to reach for a painkiller or some sort of medical relief in terms of a medicinal purpose that's been made in a lab. Go out into the woods, find something.
Yeah. If it's man-made, then nature has no bearing. And you're right. And it's nice to see. And the alternative stuff really, really works. And then you learn about all the indigenous practices that we dismissed. We were very dismissive of through the years that are actually have some real value to them.
Yeah, big time. I mean, the studies are coming out with the natural stuff. I'm a full supporter on. I mean, I take some of the natural, sort of remedies myself. One in particular is something called shilajit, which is a resin that comes from the rocks of the Himalayan mountains, and
Ooh.
this resin, literally, a pea size of it in hot water once a day. Drink it. It's putting over 87 of the 102 natural minerals that the body needs, every day into the system in one foul swoop. You're increasing testosterone if you're training within the weights. You're getting better sleep, that sort of thing. And it's from a resin that comes from a rock in the Himalayas. I would rather much take that than take something that's been made in a lab that's been tested on, animals. No, give me the natural remedies any day.
Yeah, 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 and yeah. I was in hospital for about a week and a half with some surgery that needed to be done. I was so conscientious of the people around me and their health that I wasn't paying any attention to mine. And let's just say I got punished for it. But you see that in a hospital, it's like time slows right down because they're so busy. They can't really get to you, and everything just works, but at a much slower pace.
Becomes a hidden game of such, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it felt like I was on the other side of a black hole. You know what I mean? My life's going real fast, and everything else is going really real slow. But they know instinctively that they're in a system that is not addressed for healing anymore. And that's why they took those jobs, the nursing jobs, the doctor jobs, the counselor jobs, the state worker jobs. And it's a soul crushing thing for them. And this whole COVID situation, just amped up all the factors,
Yeah.
And we were trained to believe that a hospital was the most dangerous place to be, when it was the exact opposite of that.
I was in the hospital at the height of it with all my surgeries. It was a different experience, and I never want to go through it again.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want you to either.
My experience of lockdown was very different from both of yours. To be fair, I was furloughed from work for the full 15 months, so I was just hanging about, chilling out, and researching paranormal stuff. I basically had a 15-month career break.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Well, we were fortunate enough to still be doing radio through, probably the worst of it, and then my wife came down with some health issues that I really had to. The world got very small, and I opted to just retire from everything so I could pay full attention to her health. And
so when you come
most
back,
good things you didn't stay retired.
Yeah.
Well, I'm back now. She's in remission, so and I think there are good sides and bad sides to giving someone your full attention. It's like a lot of things that happen to a lot of people that were in lockdown with the people that the love of their life, and then they got to know each other a little better, and it affected a lot of those types of relationships. So I think she would probably feel a bit relieved to be away from me for a couple hours here, a couple hours there. She saw enough of me to last a lifetime, I think. But a lot of people, learned a lot about their mates and their families, and ways that were in some fashion distressing and in some fashion relieving or prideful, and it's just when you're used to being out and about in nature too, and all of a sudden you're boom stuck in a room with 5G radiation stuck to your head. That was an actual weapon of mass destruction when I was a kid. We were scared of the Russians that were going to nuke us, and people were building these bomb shelters in their backyard in the 1960s, and China had 5G, and that's another way. But we wouldn't have a mushroom cloud, but about the same kind of after effects. and it's an enemy that you can't see and really don't understand at all. So you never know when it's killing you, and that was in some ways scarier. And now, I mean, everybody's running to it. And
we're at the end of our 2 hours here. Any closing comments for any events or anything that you would like to get out there before we end the show here?
No, again, just anybody that's interested in coming along to any of the events, they can go over on the shadowhuntersni.com. All the events are there for them to have a look at, and come check them out. Other than that, I appreciate you having me back on, guys. It's been good to catch up with you. It's been a long time in the waiting,
right?
A long time in the making. So good to have you back.
So you want to co-host here once in a while with us?
Oh yeah, count me in. Count me in. Not a problem.
Outstanding. Yeah, me too, man. I'm in. Yeah, road trip, Tim. Let's see if we can make that barge in time.
Yeah, we'll get across the pond.
Yeah. We'll see how far that wheelchair will get you across on the way.
You get your backstage over here, boys. I have VIP access for you. You'll get that scooter across on board and all.
Road trip, Chippy.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. We'll be the most welcomed Americans in Ireland. I think that'd be great.
I'll welcome you at the airport with a bottle of whiskey. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I'm in. Yep. And plus, I got a birthday coming up.
Perfect birthday present then.
Yep. That would do it, man. Yeah, that checks the bucket list and everything, So that would be beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And nature doesn't get any more beautiful in an earnest way than in Ireland. I mean, oh my Lord, I would love to see that up close.
Oh, there's a reason why it's all green.
Yeah.
Websites, any events coming up? You want to promote your website and how people can get a hold of your team?
Again, anybody looking to contact us or they want to check us out, they can go over to shadowhuntersni.com. All the events, everything's posted up on there. But other than that, they can go across onto Facebook at facebook.com/shadowhuntersni.com, and we're at TikTok at shadowhunters_ni.
Wow. There's a reason for me to go back on Facebook, Tim.
Supernatural Realm is on every podcast.
Send me a friend request.
Oh, yeah, big time. Well, I'm locked out, actually, because I lost my phone a couple of weeks ago, and I can't get back in. Just life,
Just let the listeners know we're streaming live on Facebook and on Supernatural Realm YouTube page.
Speaking of Facebook, yeah.
And MikeBarra.com.
Oh, nice. Love Michael. Yeah, that's awesome. Right. Yep, and the Supernatural Realm Radio will be seen more often in coming days and weeks and months.
Most definitely.
Yeah, with the
big
team.
Things ahead, boys. Big things ahead.
Yeah, you bet. And it's time. It's time for every single person to enjoy better things. I think we've earned it.
Definitely.
And on that note, Timmy, I give it back to you, brother. The Supernatural Realm Radio.
Yep. And you can find us on every podcast and every radio network known to humankind. And we're on Amazon Music. We're on Spotify. We're on TuneIn. We're on iHeartRadio. We're everywhere.
Everywhere. Yep. And that is true. It's impressive.
So I'm gonna upload the show after we end the live stream here.
All righty.
Hello to everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please email me a copy while I'm still locked out of Facebook, and I would definitely appreciate it. And yeah, I got some things I gotta take care of too. So it's been a blessing to see you again and to be with you again for the team and to find a new brother in arms. it warms the heart to see the work you're doing and the attitude that you bring to the work and the character and the integrity that you bring. It makes you absolutely beautiful, and God bless you for that. And boy, we wish you all the greatest of success with your team, and maybe you'll see us in person with any luck. So,
Hey,
fingers
you just let
crossed.
me know when I'll be ready.
All right, Fra McDonald. Yeah, Shadow Hunters in I for Northern Ireland.com. Beautiful.
That's the one.
God bless.
Time for me to fly. I've got to set my feet. Time for me to fly. Baby, that's just how it's got to be. Though it hurts to say goodbye, but it's time for me to fly. Fly. It's time for me to fly. Well, I've got to set myself free. Time for me to fly. Baby, that's just how it's got to be. Whoa, I know it hurts to say goodbye, but it's time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. High. Time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. It's time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. Time for me to fly. It's time for me to fly. Oh, baby, yes it is.
All right, guys.